It's another Thunder Thursday on News OK Live. I'm Mike Sherman, sports editor of the Oklahoman, here with half our Thunder coverage team from the newsroom at 9000 North Broadway in Oklahoma City, columnist Barry Trammell, and from the sports department, which is also in the newsroom at 9000 North Broadway in Oklahoma City, columnist Jenny Carlson. Thunder Thursdays are sponsored by our good friends at Wheeler Chevrolet. Take that drive down I-40, save yourself some time and money. Guys, we start with Scott Brooks. Kevin Durant making impassioned defenses of his coach, saying he should be Coach of the Year. My question to you, Jenny, is Kevin Durant the reason Scott Brooks will not be Coach of the Year?
Yes, Kevin Durant's too good. He's making Scott Brooks' job easy, right? I mean, I guess that maybe some people look at it that way, but, I think anytime you've got a team that loses such a major component as the Thunder has in Russell Westbrook throughout the season, and to still have the best record in the West, I mean, it's hard to ignore the fact that Scott Brooks is doing a heck of a job. I mean, at some point, I think, a lot of people want to say it's just the players, but clearly Scott Brooks is having an influence on things. Is he the Coach of the Year? I don't know, but he's definitely got to be in the discussion, for crying out loud.
Barry, who would be Coach of the Year if not Scott Brooks?
Well, Scott's got no chance, first of all. I mean, Jeff Hornacek's going to win it unless somebody rides in from the on the inside rail. Hornacek is coaching a team that was almost on their own admission wasn't even trying, and now they've been in the playoff race all year, and I think they're 6th in the West as we speak. So Hornacek's going to win it. But Scotty's done a fine job. He would be up near the contenders for second place. People like Rick Carlisle in Dallas done a very good job. Dallas has been in the playoff race for no good reason, if you ask me. So that's probably the top two of Scotty's contenders. But Hornacek has done such an amazing job with the Suns that I think the race is over.
Let's take the race for Coach of the Year away for a second and stay on the subject of Scott Brooks and his coaching acumen and actually the perception about him. Barry, here Scott Brooks is coaching two All-Stars in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. That's the way he starts his coaching career, with these two guys. And there is a popular theory that he's not a great late-game strategist. He was resistant to change, and he's overly reliant on the athleticism of his two best players to get baskets and to get easier baskets in scoring crunch time. Is that the thing that holds Scott Brooks back? And what are we missing? What are people who criticize him for that really missing?
Well, first of all, I think the first thing they're missing is Scotty, or the Thunder, is really good. The Thunder's really good in close games. So I don't know where there's not good in crunch time, not good at late game stuff. Now, yeah, it helps to have Kevin Durant on your team, no doubt about it, in late game situations. On the other hand, Scotty coaches Russell Westbrook. That's called not easy. That's a tough job, sort of keeping the reins on Russell Westbrook. And Scotty's done it while keeping he sort of kept Russell in line mostly, but Russell still plays with the wild abandonment of a Mustang. So, maybe Scotty doesn't match up with the offensive X's and O's of Greg Popovich, or the defensive tenacity of Tom Thibodeau. But maintaining, sort of keeping a locker room together and getting guys to play hard every night. One thing you can say about the Thunder is they never. They don't take many nights off. They don't take many plays off. He's got a bunch of guys that play hard. He's got a bunch of big egos. I mean, he coaches Kendrick Perkins and Russell Westbrook, and he's done it to great success. And I don't see a lot of people thinking that's too easy. So a lot goes into being an NBA coach.
Ask PJ Carlissimo how easy it was to coach this bunch. I mean, he lost these guys quick. I agree with Barry. I think there's probably guys that will be ahead of Scott Brooks in Coach of the Year voting. But I mean, you got to think part of it is balancing out all of the different personalities. And Scott Brooks, there's never been a question in my mind that he's done that to the top. I mean, there's never been any sort of dissension that I've sensed in guys when it comes to how Scott deals with them, and that's big. That's huge in the NBA. So, and I think he's getting better in late game situations. I mean, I think there was a time when we saw the international distress signal of Kevin Durant holding up that hand and saying, "Hey, throw me the ball," and then he has to go make a play. We don't see that as much anymore. Does it happen occasionally? Sure, but it's definitely not the norm, and I think that speaks to some of what Scott Brooks has brought to the table.
The new curve, of course, the new wrinkle in the Thunder's offense, and it sets this year seems to be, Barry, the action between Kevin Durant and Serge Ibaka. We didn't see in past years where there was a lot of pick and roll and Serge getting the ball in the circle at the elbow, getting those shots. We sort of marveled several years ago when the Thunder acquired Nenad Krstić, and he was able to knock down elbow jumpers, and we said, whoa, look at how this opened up the lane for him. Now all of a sudden Serge Ibaka's doing that 4 or 5 feet behind. Doesn't Brooks or somebody deserve some credit for pulling that one out of the thin air and making that a sort of a go-to play now that Westbrook's out?
Well, I guess you can. I mean, you definitely credit Scott for that. You could also, I guess, be critical of Scott for not employing Durant with the ball at the top of the key in the pick and roll in the Memphis series last year. So, I mean, I guess it goes both ways. But yeah, Scotty's done a very good job on the, as far as I'm concerned, on his in-game calls. You know, I think it's defensively is where he's as good as any place. For instance, Tuesday night in Portland, he seemed to have all the right calls. Started out Ibaka on Aldridge, and then went to Collison, and then to Perkins, and really mixed and matched well. I think he's got a nose for defensive matchups. The offense is clearly performing at a high level and has for years. So yeah, I think Scotty does a lot of things that get people open. The Jeremy Lamb development has been remarkable as well. So a lot of things going on, I think, with Scotty's offense. I think he's a very solid offensive coach.
Guys, let's go to the matchups. Tonight, of course, in Los Angeles, the Thunder closes the first half of the season, or not the first half, but the pre-All-Star break part of the season against the Lakers JV, a game that is for entertainment purposes only as we head to the All-Star break on TNT. And then, of course, then's the All-Star break. But the Thunder could possibly head to the All-Star break as the best record in the NBA, in which the Thunder would be then paired 1 versus 8, Golden State Warriors, Oklahoma City Thunder, first round of playoffs. How do you like them apples, Jenny?
Wow, sign me up to a fun series. I mean, I think that's a heck of a first round. Obviously, Golden State's has been a tough matchup for this franchise, and it has been even when the Golden State Warriors weren't nearly as good as they are now. So the fact that they could potentially be in that 8th seed and that number 8 spot would be amazing. I mean, it would be a heck of a first-round matchup for the Thunder. Now, I still like their chances if they're full strength with Russell Westbrook, but man, that's the kind of series that you could see going extended games. And then how does that impact the Thunder down the stretch? I think there's a lot of good possible first-round, second-round matchups. But, you know, the West is stacked, so it's all about good matchups from first round to the end. So you're going to have to play some good ball to get out of the West, and I think that would just be very reminiscent of what was to come for the Thunder the rest of the playoffs.
Barry, does the Warriors Thunder sound a little bit like the Rockets Thunder of last season?
It does. It's quite a bit like it, except for this fact. I think these Warriors were more ballyhooed going into the season than those Rockets. We expected more out of Golden State than to be right there on the cusp of not making the playoffs. We expected them to be in the top 6 of the West, one of the West contenders. Some people picked them, as sort of a dark horse favorite to win the West. They've been wildly inconsistent this year. Their offense has not been as good as you would think with shooters like they've got. But it is a dangerous team, and one the Thunder, frankly, would like to avoid. Memphis and Golden State, they would like to avoid. A team that can get big-time good on defense and a team that can get big-time good on offense, you'd like to stay away from. Thunder would much rather play Phoenix or Dallas.
Guys, of course, the Thunder is in L.A. Both of our Thunder beat writers are on the road. Darnell Mayberry on his way to New Orleans to cover the Kevin Durant and the Thunder contingency and All-Star Weekend. Anthony Slater, of course, is in Los Angeles tonight for the Lakers Thunder game. Barry, Jenny, let's start with you about the All-Star Weekend. Is there anything about the All-Star Weekend that captivates you? It seems like a lot of the era has gone out of the slam dunk contest. LeBron James is posting YouTube videos of him dunking. I guess that's going to be his entry, and he might win it based just off those YouTube videos. What about the All-Star Game weekend sort of captivates you, interests you?
You know, I always think it's interesting to watch these guys interact with each other. What you said about sort of the slam dunk contest not being nearly as exciting. I definitely agree, and I'm not sure I really am going to, build my schedule around making sure I see the skills challenge or the three-point shooting or the, freshman sophomore game or whatever they're calling that now. But I always think it's interesting during those events to watch the guys on the sidelines and sort of, who's joking around with who seems to be buddy-buddy with who. I don't know that it means anything. It's always just interesting to sort of see these guys in that setting that's not, it's not a competitive situation. They don't have to put on some sort of front. Some of them might, but they don't have to. So I'm always interested to kind of watch those interactions to see who's kind of palling around with who. And, I think we'll see that stuff happen during the slam dunk contest, three-point shooting, that sort of thing. So the game, I'm mildly interested, but it's definitely not, not one of those things that I feel like is must-see TV necessarily.
Barry, what about All-Star Weekends got you excited?
Oh, mainly the fact that I'm not there. That's the best part of the weekend. I'm not too big, never been the fan of the dunk contest. The game is such an exhibition with very little intensity or defense. I used to like the shooting contest. I think the skills challenge is goofy. I used to like the shooting contest. Now it's a three-man team with an NBA, WNBA, and an old-timer. I find it a little bit too much hype. I'd rather see the Thunder play Minnesota on a Tuesday night.
Barry, I remember we sent you to Houston the very first year that the NBA was in Oklahoma City. That was also the year that Charles Barkley said that all those things that he said about Oklahoma City, we won't bring them up again, Charles. We've all sort of buried the hatchet and become friends since then. But anyway, that was the big story. Are you telling me you didn't have fun in Houston that weekend? And then some other of us went down to Dallas and covered parts of that All-Star Weekend, and you didn't enjoy that?
It's great. All-Star Weekend's great from a media standpoint because of the access to interviews. The current NBA stars, past NBA stars. That first year in Houston, I talked to Oscar Robertson and Bill Walton and all kinds of people. It was great. That part of the weekend is fabulous. But as far as, the part of the weekend that everybody sees, the stuff that's televised and the competitions, I don't go for it. There's one thing that could save the game, though, and that is if they would let the players wear their own team's uniforms. The best thing about the baseball All-Star Game is everybody out there in their own team uniforms. It's a great landscape. It's a beautiful picture. And instead, in the NBA, everybody gets these specific All-Star jerseys, probably some sort of Nike or Reebok or whoever it might be advertising campaign. So I'm not much into it. But if you're out there and seeing Kevin Durant in Thunder Blue and Steph Curry in Golden State Yellow and Tim Duncan in San Antonio Black, I think it'd be a great sight.
Speaking of great sights, one of these days we ought to tell the story of the great sight of seeing the Oklahoman wrapped car pulling up at the All-Star Game, where Darnell and a lot of his fellow NBA writers were conversing, and you and I pull up in our wrapped vehicle, wave at Darnell and say, "Hey, jump in, Darnell, we're getting ready to go eat." And Mike Monroe of the San Antonio paper said, "Hey, Darnell, can I borrow that one tonight to go out on the town?"
I think we need Darnell here to tell that story properly, don't we?
He's not telling that story. He wanted to get in a hole. He wanted to dig a hole and climb in.
Speaking of someone who is really sort of wanting to dig a hole and climb in this week, I hate to bring it up this way, but we will. Marcus Smart. Guys, there's a lot of attention now on Marcus Smart's draft stock. I heard a lot of talk about it on the radio in the days after the incident in Lubbock. What exactly, Jenny, do you think his draft, what has this done to his draft stock? And then, of course, the Thunder fan / OSU fan wonders, is there any chance this could turn out well for the Oklahoma City Thunder and its fans who love OSU? Could Marcus fall so far that the Thunder could scoop him up in the NBA draft?
Sort of Perry Jones-esque. Oh, hey, the Thunder just got a great late first-round pick. I don't think Marcus will fall that far, but, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see after he returns, what does he do? How does he play? How does he act? I think what he did Sunday was a good first step, being very apologetic. No excuses. I take this on me. It was my fault. I apologize to the fan, to the team, to my coaches, to the university, to the fans. I think that was a good message to send. I think that showed some maturity. I think NBA teams had to like that. But obviously, he's been struggling. I mean, this is clearly the pinnacle, seminal moment of his season to this point. But he'd been struggling to shoot the ball. He'd had some other outbursts, had that kick of the chair earlier this year. So he's obviously he's not that guy that people were so high on a year ago. I mean, he's clearly a different player right now, and I think that's going to lead to some questions that he's going to have to answer with how he plays and acts after he comes back. So I think these next few weeks for him are going to be critical, and then when he goes into those draft, combine, tryout situations, he's going to have to answer some tough questions, and that's a product of what he did. He brought that on himself, and he's going to have to answer for it.
Barry, one of the things that scouts loved about Marcus Smart was his intangibles, and now it seems to be there are questions now about that and those assets in addition to his shooting. What do you think all this has done to him as an NBA prospect?
Well, it's hurt his draft stock. I mean, his draft stock was going to go down anyway, just about no matter what, because this draft was so much deeper than last year. And then you add in the fact that he hasn't played as well. And then you add in the fact of all the sort of strange behaviors, the kick in the chair, the flopping, the incident at Lubbock. A lot of question marks on him. I don't think it's going to drop him far. He's not getting in the Thunder. He's not going to be on the board when the Thunder drafts. I think he's still going to go in the lottery, but it may be closer to the back end of the lottery as opposed to the front end of the lottery.
One last plea on behalf of the Thunder fans / OSU fans. Barry, remember, the Thunder has 2 first-round picks. Any chance that it could be far enough down in the lottery and there could be not so much enthusiasm for Smart that Thunder could cash in a couple picks to move up and get him?
I don't see it. I mean, the Dallas pick is top 20 protected. So for Dallas. So if the Mavericks sort of come in at 21 or 22, the Thunder gets it this year, and Smart would have to drop all the way to 21 or 22, 23. I don't see it. So I think he'll be gone maybe by, if disaster hits and he falls and falls and falls, he might go down to 14, 15, 16. He's not going to 22nd.
Guys, Russell Westbrook sits there waiting, looking like he's on the verge of coming back. The Thunder's back in action right after the All-Star game. The Miami Heat is in town. Sort of a heck of a start to the post-All-Star break portion of the season. And the question looming is, when is Westbrook back? Barry, you and Anthony Slater are preparing a package for Sports Monday on that very topic, sort of looking at the Thunder with and without Westbrook. But I want to ask you, as he's getting ready to come back, Jenny, who do you think is most likely to lose out minutes, playing time, and production when Westbrook returns?
Well, I mean, clearly Reggie Jackson's role is the one that's probably going to change most dramatically. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But, I mean, I think that smaller lineup, when you have a guard-heavy lineup, I think Reggie's experience, we've talked about in a variety of ways, written about in a variety of ways. I got to think he's got some valuable experience, and if they want to do that guard-heavy lineup down the stretch, all the years they had James Harden, they're probably more prepared to do that than ever before. But, I mean, when you start talking about some of those guys that have gotten minutes off the bench, of Perry Jones in in recent weeks. Now, obviously, he's a lot different than a Reggie Jackson, but somebody's got to sit when Reggie goes back with the second unit. So maybe a guy like Perry Jones, who'd seen an increase in minutes, maybe his minutes take a hit. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting and probably situational to see maybe who bears it the most. But clearly, Reggie Jackson sliding back into that second unit role, which you got to think he's going to excel there. But it'll probably take a little bit of adjustment to figure out exactly how that's all going to work and look.
Barry, what about Derek Fisher? A question from News OK Live points out how well Fisher's been playing lately. A big beneficiary of Kevin Durant's just excellent MVP play during this stretch has been Derek Fisher's openings and his play. Is there any chance that less minutes for Fisher, and could that possibly be a good thing for Oklahoma City?
Well, I mean, I think it's always good when Russell Westbrook comes back. So let's get that clear. I think Fisher has played very well, but he's still 39 years old. If you can limit his minutes, it's for the better. And I think his minutes will go down when Westbrook gets back. I think down the stretch and then in the playoffs, Derek Fisher will be more of a three-point marksman, more of a shooting specialist. He's now a little bit of a jack of all trades. He's the shooting specialist. He's the backup point guard. He's the defensive stopper off the bench. In Portland Tuesday night, Scotty Brooks put Fisher in just to get in front of Damian Lillard. So I think Fisher's role will change and be reduced to some extent, but he will still be a vital part of the rotation because of that shooting that he's done so well these last 2.5 months.
Is there any doubt among either one of you about Russell Westbrook's comeback? Is there any doubt at all about whether or when he will come back and re-enter the lineup for the Thunder?
I mean, I definitely think he's coming back. I don't think there's any question of that. Now, exactly when, I know that obviously this Heat game on the 20th, the first game coming out of the All-Star break, and obviously that matchup, that looks pretty scintillating. I mean, I could see why that's sort of become a favorite target, and being that it is the first game after the All-Star break makes sense. But, you know, I don't know if that's going to be it, but I can't imagine we're far away from it. And, you know, is he going to come back playing as well as he did when he exited? Maybe not. I mean, he was playing amazingly when he left to have that surgery. So I don't know if we can expect him to be in tip-top shape right away, but to say that he's not going to get back to that form that we saw previously, I mean, I don't doubt the guy. I don't think he's given us any reason to. If he'd have come back last time and been a step slow or hesitant, maybe we'd think otherwise, but he was none of those things.
Barry, you think they might be cautious? You think he might be sick? There seems like there's a given, almost an assumption on behalf of a lot of Thunder fans and some of us that, okay, come back from the All-Star game, he'll be in there against the Heat. Is there any reason to believe they might hold him out even longer?
I think there's a chance that he might not come back as soon as immediately after the All-Star break. For one reason, the Thunder's playing so well, so it's not imperative that he comes back. And I think the Thunder has realized, you know what, we want Russell back when he's absolutely 100%. So I don't know when that is. I think he'll be back soon. But it's to the point where the Thunder may be saying, you know what, let's go to March 1st. Let's give this knee even more time to strengthen up. I do think he's coming back, but I think the Thunder is going to play it very cautious and very slow because with Russell Westbrook, the Thunder has the best record in the NBA. Without Russell Westbrook, the Thunder has the second best record in the NBA. So, you know, it's not like they've got to have him right now to stay alive. He can definitely take a rest, come back 100% whenever that is, and the Thunder will be fine.
Last subject, folks, a well-worn subject with us at the Oklahoman on the Thunder Thursday Hangout, and something that Barry's good friends on the radio like to accuse us of. I guess we've become the Kendrick Perkins Anti-Defamation League. Defenders of the perk. I even saw Anthony slipped a Perk Nowitzki mention into his post-game notes and on a blog the other day on Thunder Rumblings. But my question about Perk, is it time that we can stop being the anti-Perk defamation league. Barry, is there any chance that his performance in Portland dropped the mic, walked off the stage, and said, "See, that's why Oklahoma City's got me"?
No. No chance. If Perk scored 27 points in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, people would still hang on to their belief that it's not helping the team. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just the nature of defense. People don't appreciate defense in basketball. It took a long time to appreciate fielding in baseball. The fact that a good slick shortstop can save you a lot of runs. You grew up in Baltimore. You know well how that is with Mark Belanger. Kendrick Perkins is Mark Belanger. His batting average is about 205, but when the other team is at bat, you want him on the field. And when the other team has the ball, you want Kendrick Perkins on the court. We saw that against Portland. We see it against a lot of teams, not just the teams with a 7-foot center who can score. He's very good against a lot of different players, very good in the pick and roll. Thunder has the number 3 defense, team efficiency defense, points per possession. Thunder is 3rd in the NBA behind the 2 rattlesnakes, Indiana and Chicago. And Kendrick Perkins is a big reason for that.
Jenny, what do you think? LaMarcus Aldridge would pony up on the amnesty Perk wagon. You think he might even pop for whatever the Thunder have to pick up in Perk's salary if they let him go after this season?
You know what? I'm not sure how I can even add anything to what Barry said after he's dropping random Baltimore Orioles references. So, hey, more power to him. Yeah, I think LaMarcus Aldridge has seen the teeth of the bear enough times to probably be ready to wish Sam Presti would amnesty Kendrick Perkins. We saw Perk turn that game around here in Oklahoma City. We saw him have a great performance the other night. I think that, going into that 3rd game against the Blazers, if you were a Thunder fan or a Thunder player or a Thunder coach, you had to wonder, hey, is this team is that team going to be a roadblock to the Thunder potentially getting to where it ultimately wants to go in the playoffs? But these last 2 games have showed, no, this is a team the Thunder can handle, and in large part that's because Kendrick Perkins has made LaMarcus Aldridge become more pedestrian down the stretch of those games. So big ups to Perk, but Barry's right, nothing short of I don't even know. I can't even think of anything he would do that would make some people get off the amnesty Perk bandwagon. There are people that are going to stay there forever, and they just don't get the impact that he makes for this team in so many ways.
Maybe if he fixes the Lexington Purcell Bridge, he'll be a hero.
Kissing up to the people of Cleveland County, kissing up to the is it McLean County or Cleveland County, Barry?
The bridge separates them.
Okay.
That's part of the problem.
Thanks, guys. That's all for this edition of Thunder Thursday, but you can stay with the best coverage team anywhere, every day in News OK and every morning in the Oklahoman. And remember, Thunder Thursdays are sponsored by our good friends at Wheeler Chevrolet. Take that drive down I-40, save yourself some time and money.